So Ferrari has made the biggest change going into Barcelona, and specifically sticking onto the home favorite, Carlos Sainz. Well, home favorite, Fernando Alonso, Carlos Sainz, they're both pretty much home favorites. Fernando's the bigger guy, but regardless, you get what I'm saying. It's only been brought to one car, and it's been brought to Carlos Sainz. And let's talk about what this really has to offer for Ferrari and how it can really change their concept really going into this real big season. I'm gonna show all the pictures that I have, talk about where it's similar to other cars, what it's really gained from it, and what we can see before it goes out onto track tomorrow. And by the end of the video, I will cover what Aston Martin brought. I thought it was going to be bigger upgrades, but they still brought something that could be pretty significant for their future, and other stuff is coming soon. First picture I got for the Ferrari is this one. It's in their pit lane. We don't actually have a very clear shot. I'll show the clear shot as well as to how the side pod looks, but from here we can already tell that it's different. The biggest things that I can notice from here is that the side pod itself, I'm surprised they didn't change the inlet. I guess they want to still have that like wider side pod inlet. Maybe it's a little bit more out now, but it's still pretty big, still pretty lengthy. It seems like they kind of have that Aston Martin design going in this type of way, but I'll show you exactly where the side pod concept is coming from right now. And it's very interesting from the team that they kind of took it from. Next picture I got, this is the big boy. This is the how the side pod looks, but also how the engine cover looks. And from what I can see, and what makes this car concept a bit different to others is the way that its side pod and engine cover, the way that the concept kind of works with itself. Now, the side pod, in my opinion, looks almost straight up off of the Alfa Romeo. I'll even put the side-by-side up right now. And as we know, the Alfa Romeo is a very poor car. But there is things that makes it different. Now, the Alfa Romeo has its engine cover going all the way back to its practically beam wing, or really even rear wing. Now, their engine cover, it seems like they're very much focusing on this going down into their beam wing, into their diffuser. And this is where I want to talk about what Ferrari has been talking about through the year and why this is so important as to how they want to continue upgrading their car. So last year, their car had some drag that really didn't help it out in the top speed corners. Well, top speed corners and really top speed in general, they were amazing on their downforce, especially solid in the low speed and medium speed. But this year, to reduce that drag, they lost that downforce. And they've been talking about how Red Bull has been able to really stall their beam wing to get that extra 8 kilometers per hour. Now, I think this is their solution to really keeping their, I guess, concept that they talk about with the SF-23, but also being able to bring in that top speed and produce as much downforce. This is how I think they're going to attempt to stall the beam wing, by bringing all of its really air contribution to its floor and the way that it's brought up. That is my opinion on it. Now, do I know that to be true? Obviously not. We won't really even see up until the performances. I'll really say we're going to really see how this performs on Saturday and Sunday, but it also does promote, from the picture that I'm looking at right now, which is the exact same one which Motorsport definitely put themselves up onto, the undercut seems a little bit more drastic. Still following what I think Aston Martin kind of has with their undercut. Pretty simple, but it is there. But now they're also kind of bringing up that floor a little further up into its rear suspension and to the really diffuser. So as you can see, it almost seems to be intertwined. I think it's going in the right direction. It actually looks pretty mean too, if I'm being honest. I will miss that bathtub design for sure, but I do like the look of it. It does look a bit odd in some certain areas though, but I see what it's trying to go for. At least from my eyes, this is what it looks like. Here's another talking point. Here's how the side pod, really the under part of the side pod, went from Barcelona to really, I mean Monaco to Barcelona. So the top part, Barcelona, bottom part, Monaco. First of all, look at the way that the airflow works onto this car. It's completely different on its real floor bottom and how it's enhancing that real undercut into the car. I mean, look at that little bump that they've also added to the car. Now, obviously, there won't be that big box that you see right there. I mean, it's just for them to actually like configure the car and calibrate the car. But obviously, it's closed up in Monaco. It will obviously be closed up also in Barcelona. But the way that the undercut works here and that little bump that they added into the side pods, it's them trying to promote the airflow going more into the floor. And as we saw in the other picture, which I'll have up on the screen, their floor is being more focused into its really beam wing. A lot of teams are going through this route because they've seen what Red Bull has been able to do, and that is where really Ferrari is getting the hint to keep going along with this undercut flow that goes into its beam wing. It's where they're trying to extract all this performance. It's why they're so fast in the straights. Here's another picture, also of the side pod that we saw earlier, showing its difference. As we can see here, the bathtub design itself, it had that kind of outer edge that made it curve to actually promote the airflow going through it. Now, they put that down, they made it more of that downward wash, but also, like I said, the engine cover is a big thing. As you look in this picture, you don't even see the engine cover. There is no real, the engine cover was so slimmed out in the original SF-23 and even that F-175 that you weren't even really able to see what it was. It wasn't there for performance. It was more to get that airflow into its really bathtub design and get it out. But now it's a lot more focused on its real beam wing and diffuser setup. It's definitely a change of philosophy. In my opinion, if you ask me, it's something different that they're going for and they're seeing that it's working for other teams. So I see as to why they have it on one car and not the other. Now, why they chose Carlos, maybe because it's his home Grand Prix. That's my thoughts on it. And they want to see what it's going to do in the first free practice. It's a big upgrade design to not have on both cars though. So I guess they want to see where the air is flowing now that they have a different side pod concept. But also the floor is different, which is the next picture that I have up onto the screen right now. And this is definitely a change that I haven't yet seen. I mean, I'm not going to tell you that I know exactly what's happening here. I can tell that, yet again, kind of like Aston Martin and Mercedes, they have that floor going into its real diffuser setup through the side, but also letting that airflow go through. Now, I'm trying to see if that's going to be downwash going into its real diffuser and picking up airflow through that way into the floor as well in both types of fashion. One going towards the beam wing, other one towards the rear diffuser. Or is it more to promote the air going differently towards its tires to help its rear tires? It can be a lot of different things. I can't exactly tell. It's also a very blurry picture, might I add. It's a good picture. I mean, thank you, Albert Fabrega, for promoting it for us. But it will help with getting the airflow to either the rear diffuser or its rear tires, depending on what it's trying to really get at here. It's different. We haven't really seen that on any other car, seeing that the floor is opened up. And then they also changed their mirror setup. I remember seeing in the morning when I woke up that this was the only thing that was changed, and that was the only picture. I was like, oh wow, they brought a lot of upgrades here. But no, obviously it is different, and I guess it looks a lot better, and it's probably going to promote airflow in a different type of fashion. It's not much different. It's just that the top part is just brought in a bit more. So, yep, I don't think it's going to bring a drastic difference. Okay, now I wanted to talk about Aston Martin. So, in this picture alone, you can only see that there's really that hole into the floor, and this is to promote the airflow going towards the downwash, getting that car to be lower to the ground. If they're able to extract that performance, it can bring more than you think. Now, it is very simple, and it's not... Another thing is, that I can actually talk about this, is when you look at this picture, what I was talking about with the Ferraris is the exact same thing with the Aston Martins. Look at the way that the floor goes and how it goes into its real beam wing to try and stall it, and how it also has that airflow going the other way. Their floor is so much more simplified to a Ferrari, to a Red Bull, to a Mercedes. It is so simple, there's still so much to be added. It's little things that they're trying to extract that performance through. That's why we get the 1 to 2 tenths. But the bigger upgrade that I can actually give you a lot more analysis on is its actual front wing. Why this is a bigger deal and why I think this is something that I think was going to happen at some point. When I look at this wing, their last wing that they had, it definitely promoted the airflow in a different type of fashion, but it also gave them a lot more downforce. I think they're a lot more certain on their car on where the downforce is coming from. So now they can have a front wing that actually has less drag onto it and promotes the airflow in a different fashion. It's very similar to the Mercedes W14 wing that they have right now, in the way that the flaps actually work and how they are made. But at the same time, it's also getting to that flatter point and not as rigid as the actual Mercedes front wing. It's better in that fashion, and it looks more like the RB19 in that way in the front wing. That's all that we really got for Aston Martin and Ferrari. I'm excited to see what it can bring for both cars, as to both cars will probably struggle on this track in certain aspects, but maybe these upgrades will change that. So let's see. Leave your thoughts down below. What did you guys think? Please leave a like, subscribe. It would mean the world, and peace.